If my camera falls over one more time, you're not getting a video. Okay. Not that that's over. Hi. I will be sharing my opinions on the new Frankenstein movie. I'm sure you've heard about it. It was released a couple days ago on Netflix. I personally am a very big fan of Frankenstein in general. As you can see, I got my little guys over there. Oh, and the shirt, yeah. So yeah, I was very excited to watch this because I saw the trailers, and I noticed in the trailers that there were some things that suggested to me that this was going to be finally a book-accurate Frankenstein movie. Let's dive into it. I think the biggest thing I'm looking for going into this movie was book accuracy. I know that was something that the director and the cast talked about a good bit, is, honoring Mary Shelley's story and especially honoring her original idea for the creature, Victor Frankenstein's creation. And additionally, I am kind of hoping for a good characterization of Victor himself, because a lot of the movies don't have that. You kind of have this idea, I say Frankenstein, you're thinking this mad scientist, and he's really not in the books. If you've ever seen The Corpse Bride, the character of Victor in that is a lot more similar to Victor in the original story. I think another thing that I'm really looking for is the way that Victor's relationships with other people impact him. I think one of the biggest ones that I very rarely see touched on is his relationship with his mother, who, spoiler, the book is 100 years old, so sorry if you don't know this, but his mother does die when he's very young, and that kind of influences him as he grows up. Influences what he's interested in as a child. Obviously, it influences his, want to create life. It's his first, introduction to death, and it's someone he cares deeply about. I think another really important relationship of Victor's that is not really talked about is his friendship with, Henry? I think that's his name. Yes, I just checked, it was Henry. But when Victor first creates the creature, which I'll get to that in a minute. When he first creates him, he freaks out. He's like, oh my god. And he gets sick, and he's sick for the rest of the book. But his friend Henry is there to keep him healthy, keep him sane. And Henry's death is actually one of the big things that lead to Victor eventually being... He's crazy mad scientist at the end of the book, but he's not when he makes the creature. He's not pretty much until the very end of the book. Now, what I wanted to say about the creature, Frankenstein's monster, whatever you want to call it, there are so many people, I'm sure, everybody watching this has heard the, it's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein's monster argument. And the thought behind that, it is true, okay? I guess, when you say Frankenstein, you're usually, the title of the book, I think it's referring to Victor, the scientist who created him. But, here's the thing. If Victor created the monster, right? That's his son. So his son, the monster, is also a Frankenstein. So he is Frankenstein. And then if you were really truly trying to I'm honoring him, you would know that his name is Adam. It's not a given name, nobody calls him that in the book, but there's a whole thing where he's essentially saying that since he was created by Victor, he is he's essentially Adam from the Bible, the creation story. So from here on out, will be referring to the creature, Frankenstein's monster, whatever you want to call it, as Adam. I think that is his name. He chose it. I'm going to call him that. but also because it's less words for me to say, because I will be talking about him a lot. On that note, yeah, I'm going to stop myself right there because I did not say what I meant to in this section. What I meant to say is I saw a video where Jacob Elordi gets asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset does he get when people refer to the creature, his character, as Frankenstein. And he said 10. And, like, that's great. That's great. I'm glad he actually cares. But I did get a little bit worried that he didn't know the whole Adam thing, because that is a little worrisome that he hadn't looked into the book, like hadn't looked into the character. But I don't know, it was just a thought I had. Before watching this, I was really worried about Jacob Elordi's performance, because most people probably know him from Saltburn and Euphoria, neither of which matched the vibe of Frankenstein. I was, like, excited to see how Mia Goth would do, because I saw her in the X movies and I thought she was great. I just wanted to see her in something, a little different. I've seen Oscar Isaac in a few things. He's always really good. And I have not actually seen any of Del Toro's films before, but I know, like, Pan's Labyrinth was his, and that's something a lot of people who have similar taste to me did enjoy, so I was excited, and I definitely thought it was going to be book accurate, which I'm a Mary Shelley purist, so I was very excited for that. While I was excited for Del Toro's, take on the Mary Shelley story, I was a little worried that it was going to be style over substance. His movies are always very good looking, and a lot of the clips looked amazing, but it's a very easy story to take the, fantastic elements of it and lose the actual story. So I was a little worried about that. I'm going to try to give a fairly quick summary, and then I'll get into my opinions on the actual movie. So, spoiler alert. The movie opens on this icy landscape. It is a group of sailors. Their ship has been stuck in the ice, and off in the distance they see an explosion, and they go to search, and Victor is there. He's very injured, brink of death. They bring him back to the ship. They start taking care of him. Then all of a sudden this mysterious creature shows up, and it's Adam. He starts throwing people around, trying to kill them. Eventually they kind of ward him off. They throw him under the ice. They manage to get him there, and they're like, oh, he's dead. And Victor's like, no, he isn't. He starts telling his story. So that's the prologue. And then part 1 starts, and Victor begins to explain his childhood. He had a very good relationship with his mother, but his father was pretty absent. He was a doctor who married his mother simply because she was rich and he wanted her money. So Victor's father is, training him to be a doctor as well, and he's very abusive. It's Victor messes something up and he's like, oh, really? And he hits him. Yeah, so terrible relationship. I do need to note that Victor's mother is pregnant. So one day when his father is about to leave, his mother goes into labor, and she's in a lot of pain. She dies, unfortunately. The kid that she was pregnant with, he's alive. And Victor and this kid, his name is William, they're just kind of chilling, being brothers as brothers do. But Victor's a little crazy now. He has this angel statue in his room. He goes to sleep and it's moving. It's a demon and it's yelling at him. And, that drives him. He's like, I want to be a doctor so that I can bring people to life. Not bring people to life, but create life. Because I want to avenge my mother. He blames his father. Then we cut to Victor as an adult. He is giving a kind of lecture at a university. He's talking about his reanimation process. He's like, I just need a little more time, but this is great. Look at my work. And everybody's like, you need to leave. And they bring up religion. They're like, this is sacrilegious. What are you doing? And Victor, crash out that he is in this movie, is like, no, I'm leaving. And this mysterious guy follows him. Guy introduces himself as Heinrich Harlander. He is an arms dealer because there's a war going on that isn't really relevant to the rest of the movie. But anyway, he is also the uncle of one Elizabeth. That name should sound familiar to anybody who has read the book, because that is who Victor has a romantic relationship with in other interpretations. In this, she is the fiancée of Victor's brother William. So then Henrich goes on. He's like, hey, I'm rich. You're weird and broke. Have my money. And he's like encouraging him to keep doing his work. He's like, I love your work. Like, I'm gonna pay for you to do this. I just want you to do this. I want you to pursue your passion. And yeah, Victor takes him up on that. He meets Elizabeth. He's like, oh my god, she's so hot. Elizabeth's not really having it though. They sit down to dinner and she kind of starts roasting him. She's like, this is stupid. There are better things you could be doing right now. And then the next day goes on. Victor is collecting bodies at the local execution. He's like, I don't like that one, I like that one. Taking people, and all of a sudden, at the corner of his eye, he sees Elizabeth. And he's like, oh, let me follow her. And he follows her, and he hides in a confession booth, and she's like, ooh. She goes in there, and she starts like, oh, Father, forgive me, for I have sinned. I hate this guy so much. It's my fiance's brother. He's terrible. I don't like him. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I know it's you. So you would think that means they're beefing. They're not. They go on a date. It's not a date. They're spending the whole day together. And then they go back, and I guess they like each other now. Eventually, everybody's a little like, why are you hanging out with this fiance of your brother's so much? And Henry's just like, I could stop paying you. I could leave her alone. And, life goes on. He keeps making it. And eventually, he's ready. He's ready to make Adam. And he does. He makes Adam. But here's the hitch. Henrich is very sick. And he is like, hey, I'm dying. Take my brain, put it into the creature you're making. That way I can live. And Victor's like, that's really stupid because you're so sick. Your brain is rotten. You are going to die anyway. So they get in a big fight. As Adam's being created, Victor accidentally kills Henrich. He covers it up. So, while Adam's alive now, yay! As he's dealing with Adam, he hides Henrich's body in the basement. And you know what else he puts in the basement? Adam. So he has Adam in the basement. He's, not teaching him very well. He's like, oh, do what I tell you. Ah. Meanwhile, the guy's 2 days old. He's very mean to him. Eventually, Elizabeth and William come over, and they meet Adam, and Elizabeth's like, whoa, oh my god, and she starts talking to him, and she's super nice to him, and he's like, you know what, I like this Elizabeth girl. So, Victor's, not having it with Adam. He sends everybody off, and decides, I'm gonna blow up my house. Blow it up. Adam's dying. And he does. He loses his leg. Creature is thought to be dead. He isn't. I promise. Cut back. Victor's done telling his story. Adam gets back on the ship. He didn't die either time we thought he died. Didn't die in the explosion. He didn't die when they put him in the ice. He comes back and he's like, oh, Victor's been telling you his story? Wait till you hear mine. And we discover he did not die in the explosion. He got, launched across this lake. So now he's in the wilderness, and he sees it off in the castle house that blew up in the distance. He's like, I'm going to the woods. And he does. He meets a deer. They have a little snack. They're hanging out. And Hunter tries to shoot him. So Adam's running away, and he finds this cabin. So he's like, oh, I'm hiding here. He hides in a shed next to the cabin, but he can see in. And it turns out this family lives here. He's listening to them talk. He learns how to speak. Eventually, they need some stuff. They talk about how they need firewood. So at night, Adam goes out and he brings them a bunch of sticks. Their entire front lawn covered with firewood. So this keeps going, and they're like, wow, the spirit of the forest, this is so great. He's like, you know what? Maybe they like me. And so he goes in and he talks to this blind guy who lives there. He's like, yeah, you know, like, I don't know who I am. And they get to know each other. They read some books. It's all cute. They're friends. And then the rest of his family comes home. And they try to kill him. This is where we discover Adam actually can't die. He's been shot with a shotgun several times, hole in his chest. And he's lying there dead on the ground for we don't know how long. And then he just comes back. So he's like, oh God, what happened? I'm alive. I don't like it. And I can't not be alive. What on earth am I to do? So he decides, you know what? I'm going to find Victor. And I'm going to ask him very nicely, can you make me a wife so that I'm not alone? Victor's like, no, not happening. I don't like you. And also, it's my brother's wedding night, so scram, loser. Adam tries to kill him. Elizabeth is like, it's you, I love you, and tries to save Adam. Victor shoots him, but he misses Adam, and he kills Elizabeth. She's dead now. And so Adam's like, oh my God, you killed the only person I ever loved. No! He takes her body and he takes her to a cave and he's like, oh my God. And Victor, still not having it. He's like, get out. Oh no. By the way, in this kerfuffle of shooting and throwing people, William got killed. Victor's brother's dead. No. And as he's dying, he's like, you were the real monster, Victor. That's that for William. That's that for Elizabeth. She's dead in a cave. Adam tries to run away. Victor, again, not having it, chases him with a gun. He's like, pow, pow. Doesn't work, obviously. So now they're chasing each other across the ice. Ice? Yes. This is when the ship is about to come back up. Adam's like, I can't die. Victor's like, yeah, you can. I'm going to kill you. And then Adam's like, no, I can't. And he lights a stick of dynamite. He holds it. He blows up. That's when Victor gets hurt. And Adam's fine. Obviously, he's here telling us his story. So as this is happening, Victor's like, wow, I'm a terrible person. And he dies. He just dies. And Adam's like, well, I forgive you. And he heads off. He just starts walking around the ice. He saves the people in the boat. He moves their boat out of the ice. And he's off. Movie's over. Okay, apologies for the slight angle change. I am now getting into my thoughts on the movie. There's also a glow on my face because I have my notes, so I don't get off topic. For starters, less than 30 minutes into the movie, I could tell it wasn't going to be book accurate. So that is my one big expectation out the window. But I still had hope that the specific things that I wanted would be there. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Because my first thing I wrote down is that Victor is characterized completely differently. He is just not a complex character. In the book, he is this very, he regrets what he did. He is ashamed of what he's done. He doesn't even tell anybody about it. Like, his best friend who is there, who's with him, he just doesn't talk to him about it. And it's because he's ashamed. He knows what he did was wrong. In the movie, he doesn't. He is proudly talking to people about it. He's getting paid to work on it. Literally, this guy's paying for all of his stuff. He's doing the work for somebody else. So he did. No. I'll get to that more in a bit. And then the next thing that I noticed is his relationships with his parents. Now, he does have a strong relationship with his mother in, the book. That is not something that a lot of the movies are good at showing, so I did like that they did that. but his relationship with his father is what they change. I actually kind of did like what they did here. They made it a generational trauma kind of thing. His father is extremely abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that. And it's supposed to be like, okay, well, now he is going to treat Adam that way because he's only human. He isn't healed from that. Like, because of the kind of dynamic he has with his father, he does choose to pursue medicine. That's what's been drilled into him. But due to his mother's death, he blames his father. He does not like his father regardless. And he takes his mother's death as a reason to study creation of life, to try to reanimate dead bodies. That changes things a little bit because it is no longer his morbid curiosity. It's no longer based in his his pride and his want to be better that he creates life. That is kind of the crux of the whole story, is that Victor is, despite the fact that he acts as though he isn't, he is extremely prideful, and he does this solely for his own gain. It is now that he is doing it to avenge his mother, who was a great woman, who he had a great relationship with. So it's like, okay, so whatever. The next thing that comes up that I wrote down was Elizabeth is his brother's fiance, which, don't get me started on Elizabeth, because I'll be starting after I talk about her uncle, who his only purpose is to further drive the fact that Victor is characterized completely differently. He serves as a person to drive Victor's pride. He literally fuels this guy's ego by being like, hey, I like what you do. I'm going to pay for all your stuff. Like, that, it's exhausting to me because this guy is not in the book. We just made him up for our wacky mad scientist, Victor. Get to Elizabeth. I do like her introduction. I like her before Adam. She comes in and is immediately questioning Victor. She's like, what are you doing? This is dumb. Why are you trying to create life? There's a war happening. Do something for those people. And I like that she, has her own agency. That is not something that is typically given to her in the movies. That's not even something that's given to her in the book. She's just really cool. She's honestly interesting. And then they turn her into a manic pixie dream girl. Very, very unfortunate. There's this thing where she is out with Victor. They collect butterflies. And throughout all of this, obviously they have some sort of, connection, they're both interested. But Elizabeth ultimately rejects Victor because she's so different and nobody could understand her. Why did you do that? Why did you do that, guys? Her manic pixie dream girlism does not end there. If it was just the I'm so different monologue, I would be okay, And then Adam comes along and she's like, you're different too. And she starts caring for him, showing affection, which that then just jumps right into my issues with how they dealt with Adam. But I'll finish with Elizabeth first. She does all of this, and then she thinks Adam's dead. She moves on with her life. She's about to marry William, and then Adam shows up, and she's like, I love you. No. And she dies. When she's dying, she literally says to Adam, I never felt like I fit in. I only fit in with you. They turned her into Bella Swan. This is literally just Twilight, Girl who only slightly doesn't fit into societal expectations, feels as though she is completely shunned from society, even though she isn't. Girl meets weird, creepy guy and falls in love with him. Girl believes that she fits into his world and ultimately dies to fit into his world because she dies protecting Adam. This is Twilight. Jacob Elordi is playing Edward Cullen and Mia Goth is playing Bella Swan. I would watch that movie. Just remake Twilight with Elordi and Goth. I'll watch it. I will watch it. Now, into my issues with Adam. I don't know. It's the same issue to a degree that I had with Victor, although the issues I have with Victor are much, much just like, he's not the same person at all. His upbringing, for lack of a better term, is much less traumatic in the movie. I'm not saying, like, I need all of my characters to be traumatized. I need blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that. But in the context of this character in this story, I am saying that. Because in the book, the most important interaction Adam ever has is his first interaction with Victor. Victor wakes up in the dead of night. Adam is looming over him. And he freaks out, passes out, and Adam is forced to leave and find a way to fit in. And he never does. He keeps getting rejected until he finds this young girl and he's like hanging out with her. And it's completely normal because essentially he is a young child. So they get along great. And this girl's father comes over, tries to kill him. And then he runs off to the cabin that this scene does happen in the movie, but it's done differently. I'll get to that too. And he builds a connection with the blind man, and the guy's family tries to kill him. And throughout all of this, he keeps hurting people because that is all he has been taught. He actually goes and is hurting people throughout this. And that is not in the movie. He's hurting people because that's all he knows in the book. In the movie, that isn't all he knows. The first two people he interacts with are Victor and Elizabeth. Victor's first interaction with him, not only does he, embrace the idea of Adam, he's like, oh wow, you're alive, this is cool. He physically embraces Adam. He hugs him. He's like, oh, you're alive. This is the sun. Your heart. I'm Victor. Like, okay. And then he does start treating Adam very poorly later, but I'm like, your first interaction with him is a positive one. So it's not as compelling, like you don't feel as bad for Adam, because not only has he had a great first interaction with Victor, he has Elizabeth. Elizabeth comes in, and I wrote this down, she literally turns to him and says, who hurt you? Because she sees Adam, like, having been hurt by Victor. She fully says, who hurt you? That takes away from his story. It changes his development, because he knows he has someone who cares about him. There's a whole discussion between Elizabeth and Victor where Victor keeps referring to Adam as it and she keeps referring to Adam as he. And again, this shows he has somebody in his corner in this movie. That completely takes away from the fact that nobody cared about Adam. That is the compelling part of his story, is that nobody cared about him. Because of what he was shown of humanity, he became violent. He became a monster. Humanity turned him into a monster. He is not inherently a monster. That is the point. And you just don't get that. You don't get that in the way they characterized him, the way they developed his story. Now, on to part 2 of the movie. I do like that they added in this thing where the animals that Adam interacts with don't fear him. Like, he's hanging out with this deer, and the deer's like, okay, I don't care. They're just hanging out. I like that they did that, because it drives the idea that societal, ideas and people are the problem here. It's not Adam. I do like that. But the one thing I don't like is that they immediately jump to Adam in, like, the cabin. Like, he just finds the cabin immediately after getting chased by the hunters. There's no additional rejections by society. So it's literally just Victor. One person has rejected him so far. The hunters try to kill him, but honestly, the hunters would have shot at him anyway, because there's a deer right there. So, they could have changed that a little bit, I think. Just that one's a tiny nitpick. And very, very quickly, we see this problem that I have again. He is in this house. He sees that the people have needs and he's providing for them, like, anonymously, okay? Because he recognizes that they're not going to accept him for who he is. And they don't. But he is shown kindness regardless. Kindness that he was never shown for this in the book. And then he goes and hangs out with the blind man. And again, like, shows that it's a society problem. Those are the people who hate him. People who are already shunned by society do like him. Elizabeth likes him. The blind man likes him. Okay, we get it. But there is so much more of a big interaction. Like, they spend weeks together. This guy is reading him books. This guy is doing all this stuff for him. And again, he's shown so much kindness that I honestly was questioning how he was going to eventually have all this contempt that he does by the end of the book. He has a hatred for society as a whole. He hates Victor. Victor, I get, he did try to blow him up, but he's had so many positive interactions throughout all of his life so far that I don't know. It's just this, again, this black and white. Victor bad, Adam good. Characters are no longer complex. They tried to make Elizabeth complex. They took the least complex character from the book and, like, just failed at making her complex. Again, I'm sorry I'm being a hater. If you like this movie, feel free. There are amazing parts to this movie. It is a spectacular looking movie. Overall, the story is good. But when you say that you are honoring a story that has so much depth to it, and you strip away that depth, and you lean into the spectacle, you're not honoring that story anymore. I'm gonna seem like a hater. I know nobody cares about me or my opinion on the internet. I just felt like making a video, guys, okay? Okay, I'm sorry if you like this movie. I had a bunch of other things on here. They all kind of just fit into the same problems I had. It's just, everything feels a lot less nuanced. It's a lot less deep. Frankenstein is a hard book to develop into film because it is such a focus on people's thoughts and feelings that it is better to read it as a book. I truly do think that. But there are ways that they could have done this. There were moments that shined through, like the thing with the animals. That was brilliant. I loved that scene. I literally stopped it and was like, wow, this is cool. I like this. This wasn't really shown in the book to my recollection. I think there might even have been a scene where the animals were actually scared of him, but I liked this idea. There were so many moments, and then they were just moments. They weren't things that carried throughout the movie. So I don't know. It was a good movie overall, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, it was less of an appreciation for the book than it was the culture surrounding the book. It is a good movie. It is just not an adaptation, a good adaptation of Mary Shelley's book, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, in my very, very not qualified opinion. I I don't know. I actually came across an interesting article when I was checking a couple things, because the scene where Victor blows up his castle to kill Adam, his leg comes off. Like, he loses his leg and he needs to get a prosthetic. I was like, this didn't happen in the book, did it? And it didn't. And I did stumble across an article, it's really good, I'm going to put a link in the description, that kind of talked about the way that they treat disability in this movie. And I say that and you're like, oh, they're talking about Adam. They weren't. They were talking about Victor. And that's what was really interesting to me, and that kind of leans more into my problems with this movie and with Victor as a character. There are just multiple times where Victor is getting disfigured, his leg gets blown off. He has been, like, scarred physically and mentally, but in this case, physically by his father. He gets his nose broken by Adam, and I believe Adam says something to the effect of, like, oh, now you're a monster like me. Something like that. And it's like, as he's losing his humanity, he's getting more and more disfigured, which, again, could be reading too much into it. I honestly didn't think of that before I saw this article, but it was an interesting thing to think about. The article phrases this, like, and talks about it way better than I ever could. At the end of the day, if you like the movie, cool. It is a good movie. I think if you are interested in horror, in Frankenstein in general, I would recommend watching it. It's just not exactly what I was expecting. I think more of my disappointment and my dislike of this movie is coming from myself, not necessarily the movie itself. But it's fine. I'm just one person on the internet. If you like the movie, great. I want to hear your opinions. If you also disliked it, great. I also want to hear your opinions. I know a lot of people really like this, and I unfortunately don't. I want to be in on the hype, so let me know if you liked it. Please disagree with me. Yeah, I think that's it. This is a solid yap. Bye.